Is a writer born or built? Is it innate, or is it a skill that you need to hone that takes thousands of years of practice just in order to get that one perfect line of prose? I've been traveling around Japan for the last 2 months, talking to people from all over the world, and 9 times out of 10 when I introduce myself as a writer, they tell me their own story. Maybe it's something they wanted to write, or a scene floating around in their head, or their story of trying and failing to create a draft. Writers are seen as their own species a lot of times, being able to craft prose and plots out of thin air. People who trap themselves away, often in mystery, finding inspiration in the strangest places. Hello, Tyne. Today, I wanted to talk to you about how I became a writer, what being a writer feels like, and how a writer is made. August 2013, Costa Rica, in the middle of a typhoon. My parents and I are in a small restaurant, washed with the glowing orange light of a dancing flame. There's soft chatter in Spanish all around me, and it's absolutely pouring rain outside. There's soft jazz coming from the musician off to one side, and the sweet sense of my parents' coffee in the air as we wait for our pizza to be delivered. It's only 4 p.m., but dark enough outside that it could have been midnight on a moonless night. We'd just come inside after the rain pelted down on our umbrellas. My shoes were completely soaked through. This was the first time I remember truly being in the moment, not thinking about anything else in the world, just observing. I call it bliss. My mom told me, this would be a great setting for a murder mystery. And I tell her no at first, that she's wrong, that it's just cozy. But then that evening, I put down 1,000 words on the first novel I ever wrote to completion. I've always been a storyteller, and I've been writing even before I could read. Being dyslexic, I had no idea how to spell, but I had a story to tell. My very first story was written entirely in camera angles. The next was color-coded so that I knew who was speaking. The main character was yellow, the mom was green, the supporting cast all of the other colors of the rainbow. I'd never read enough to know to put in quotes, or he said, she said, or even paragraphs. But I never considered myself a writer until that day in Costa Rica, until I wrote the last line of that book, until I edited it 11 times, until I wrote to the end of my second novel. Really, I don't know when I started saying I was a writer. All kids are creative, unafraid, daring to make whatever they want, draw in whatever colors they feel like, telling any story that comes to mind, singing songs. But over time, these are all replaced by other interests or else driven out by resentful parents. Yeah, I've always been a writer, but it was the fact that I never stopped writing that made me a novelist today. I never would have gotten this far if it weren't for my supportive parents or my best friend Tyne, who is also a writer and encouraged me for the last 10 years to keep writing and keep getting better at it. On the other hand, many people become writers later in life. And actually, the time I spend at the keyboard is only a fraction of the actual writing that I do. A writer is working when they stare out the window, when they're zoning off, looking at a tiny pool of water or the grass growing up around a pole. It's seeing the world in a different way from the average Joe and then finding the words to share it with the rest of the world. Being a writer just means carving out the time to sit down and write at the keyboard and pluck ideas out of the air. No story is written by thinking alone. Like any other job, being a good writer means having a passion for it, but there's so much more than just that. You have to be excited by ideas, love learning and gathering information, love seeing yourself improve over time, reading a lot and learning from all of it. And then there's being a successful writer, a professional writer, a jack of all trades where you're supposed to magically be able to run 30 different social media accounts, creating new content for all of them daily, and otherwise build a following all on your own while still trying to find time to write and occasionally eat. Being a writer means soul searching, knowing what's important to you and prioritizing it, finding what makes you unique and sharing it with the world. I'm a man of many masks. I wear a different one for every person, every situation, every place. I hate being in a job for more than 3 months, and I hate being in the city for more than 4 years. And I find it so difficult to maintain friendships. A writer is 1,000 people sharing the body of one person. And there's also having that spark of magic in 1,000 worlds that are so different from our own. I find it really hard to balance the scales of putting out content, writing, and having a social life. I'm trying every day to better myself as a writer and also make content and make new things that not only help people but open them up to new worlds. I hope you stick with me as I continue to change the type of videos I make, the things I post on Instagram, and even the types of books that I sell. I'd be very grateful for any feedback you can give me as to what I'm doing well or what you'd like to see more of or even what I'm awful at. But if you're someone who's thinking about becoming a writer or someone who's already a writer, I implore you to go out into the world today and really look at it, truly see it and appreciate it in your own unique way. And then as the sun sets or the rain starts to fall, sit down in front of the keyboard and write unedited. Write your truth, your passions, and create your own world. That's what makes me a writer, and that's what I think makes a writer in general.